Hello there, everyone. Welcome to our first semifinals match between Frosty and Morrison 90 here for our May 2021 league. I am Oliver V. Below me, down there in the box, way down in the bottom of it all, is Mr. Jack Dax. How you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good. Excited to see some good legacy matches, especially Death and Taxes, one of the classics. And it seems like we're going to start off with, I believe, the Holland lands of the Plain Zero lands with the Mother of Runes on turn one, the classic D&T play.
Oh, Frosty is really an established Death and Taxes player on our server, and she has gone on the books claiming that this is the best planes of all time.
Um, I would hard agree on that. The Eurolands are probably some of my favorites, especially that one.
So, of note, looking at these two players, we have Frosty versus Morrison. Frosty, the established Death and Taxes player, or one of them on our server, and Morrison, really known for playing Delver. And go figure, both these players locking in these choices and bringing it for the final league match. Frosty had the play because Frosty, out of all the 16 pools, had the number one seed. So, throughout this entire top 16 event, Frosty is going to be on the play, which is a pretty fantastic place to be when you know that you're on Death and Taxes.
Oh, yeah. And Frosty keeping up with the 4 counter to tell our players what is in their hands, hand size wise. We did see a Lightning Bolt from Morrison, which I have to say is absolutely beautiful because I believe that is the Judge promo Lightning Bolt.
It is
Um,
quite gorgeous.
well, there's the
So, I got
Godzilla card, the Sprite Dragon.
the good old Dorat, the perfect pet. So Morrison's on a pretty aggro version of Blue Red Delver. He is still playing Wasteland. It isn't in that all or the all-in Swiftspear version of the deck, but has the full 4 Sprite Dragons,
Oh, yeah.
1 True Name Nemesis, and 2 Ethereal Foragers. And we're seeing this new Strixhaven card, like one of the first Strixhaven cards to really see change the metagame up or influence Legacy. We're seeing 3 expressive iterations in this list, which is, I gotta say, it's been really impressive watching Morrison play this throughout this top 16.
It is honestly a really, really cool card. All the Strixhaven cards have been very, very interesting to see. I'm right now experimenting in Dead Gael with Fracture and Vanishing verse. They seem like a ton of fun cards. Black white cards. One is Exile Monocolored Permanent. The other one is Better Disenchant. It's black and a white for Better Disenchant, along with getting rid of Planeswalkers. Also, it seems like we're reducing the size and fixing it, but it seems like it's fixed now. And we're seeing another really cool card, an old staple, Young Pyromancer. I believe that is the new foil from Time Spiral.
Yeah, the foil
And
old border, just
the
gorgeous.
old Wasteland with the T.S. Eliot quote. I love that one. For those who aren't aware, normal Wasteland I believe doesn't have it, but the promo Wasteland has a poet quote from T.S. Eliot, which I can't actually remember off the top of my head. Do you remember what it is, Oliver?
I do not at all, but Morrison's deck really has been absolutely gorgeous as we've seen thus far. So I have a question. You are somebody who has actually played Death and Taxes previously. You kind of hinted at your affinity with Dead Guy Ale, kind of a variant of it. Different deck, but I know that you have previous experience casting your turn 1 Aether Vials off of planes. What
Oh,
do you
yeah.
feel about this matchup? Who do you think is favored in this game 1?
Again, it really depends if the Mother of Runes sticks and lands. Getting the Thalia out turn 2 is always really good, or at least close as possible to turn 2. Getting rid of the Caracas is very important here on the Morrison side. If that Caracas is always around, you always have the threat of, I'm just going to replay Thalia almost every time.
Yeah, it is an interesting matchup for sure. I'm not gonna lie, I have a little bit of insider knowledge where I had the privilege of recording Frosty's quarterfinal match where Frosty went up against I have to look this up for a moment. Who did they play, or who did she play? She played against Goal Greenhead, a Swedish player who's relatively new to our Discord. And at the conclusion of that match, playing Death and Taxes again against Blue Red in Delver, definitely said that she feels like the matchup is favored and was very much hoping that Morrison 90 was going to take down the eternally surprised in the other quarterfinals match.
Oh, I'm sure. And what we just saw there is we saw the classic Rashad and Port on upkeep, and the response, of course, is I'm going to brainstorm because I need to make tokens anyways. I would assume the Wasteland's going to hit the Rashad and Port. Only obvious choice here. We do just get to see the mom stay alive, so the mom is going to become relevant very, very soon. It's going to be protecting that Thalia pretty much day in, day out, I imagine. The clock here, though, is very scary when you think about it. Because you could swing in with the Thalia, see if they block, just chump for a couple days. It depends on how much Morrison is willing to get his life total down to. To get their life total down to. My apologies. Oh, and we're going to see another Rashad and Port making that Wasteland. Kind of useless. Feels bad.
Yeah, we're gonna be able to tax on. I think that we're just gonna be hitting blue going forward. There is this kind of weird thing where now the removal spell on Morrison's side really isn't going to be doing anything besides burning face, unless he can double stack it up, right? Do bolt and in response bolt whenever Mother is activated. Um, so in theory, you really don't need to be afraid when you're on Frosty's side of your creatures dying in any way until Morrison's able to get 2 red sources on the battlefield.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not going to be something that you're going to be looking forward to right now because you're going to at least burn 2 spells on one card just because you have the Mother of Runes. And even then, it might be more useful to burn the spell on Mother of Runes itself instead of another card.
Speaking of the volcanic here is pretty fantastic for Morrison. So we'll actually be able to, through the port, be able to resolve cantrips through the Thali attacks. But it looks like just passing back and holding back.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go too early. You might have another brainstorm theoretically, or you could be holding, any sort of thing for what you need. Days, of course, too, because you might have to actually pull it back. Seems
And
like
we're just
Morrison
getting the
is
Thalia beats.
really caring about keeping that token. I do wonder uh, what is in their hand. The good old Stoneforge. I'm assuming in this position we're probably going to get GT because we're going to need to get rid of tokens very soon, unless Frosty's going straight for the game plan of getting rid of things.
Yeah, you could potentially also get Sword of Fire and Ice where it
Oh,
resolves here, and basically just be on the pressure and swinging for 6 plan against Blue Red Delver, just trying to
yeah.
clock out of the game very quickly. But honestly, both lines would have been absolutely viable.
There we're going to see the patented 1 mana Force of Will that you need to play every so often.
Yeah, that'll happen when you got Thalia down there.
Oh yeah,
Seeing the port on the volcanic again,
yeah, makes
just kind of
sense.
denying the resource.
Yeah, just forcing them to either play the mountain or the island. I'm assuming we're going to fetch for probably another island here. Yeah, we want to dodge a wasteland potentially because we haven't seen any yet. We've seen 2 ports, I believe, so far. No, we've seen a port of Crocus, a Crocus a port. So we've seen 3, one of the 3, 2 of the 3 Crocuses, and you've seen 2 of the 4 ports. Assuming this is a pretty standard stock 23 list.
Yeah, looking at it, it does seem to be. You have the single Sanctum Prelate on Frosty's side,
Yep.
the single Phyrexian Revoker, and everything else is really kind of, I guess, as the established point would be, right? The two recruiter of the guards. Oh, actually, I lie. This is a 24 land list. There is a
Oh,
single
okay.
Horizon Canopy
That's
that's
pretty
being
smart.
splashed.
I think that's a Delver of Secrets from the Vaults foil. Very, very cool from the Vaults foil. From Transform. I believe it came with Jace Friend's Prodigy. Something from Innistrad. Some vampire flip thing. I think it was like a Markov or something. I don't remember what it was. And I think it came with the flip Archangel Avacyn, where it turned into the Red Avacyn, I think.
Did it also have the land that
Yes.
makes like clerics and flips into the demon on the other side? Am I
Yes, it
recalling
had
that
it had the
correctly?
land with the dagger demon thing. Yes, I know the one you're
There we
talking
go.
about. I believe
So
that's it.
two relevant cards in
Two
that, of
relevant
course.
cards.
Jason the Delver,
Yeah.
but
Jace Finn's Prodigy. Let's play EDH, and the Black Vampire that flips is pretty relevant. If you play it
sure,
on Tribal
I
Deck.
will give you that.
Yeah, if you play an Edgar Markov, you might play it. We're going to see a Flicker West, I assume, on one of the tokens. Never can have enough fun on getting rid of tokens.
It feels right. We're
Yeah,
able
this.
to clock now more effectively as well because we have the 3 flyers in the air. Even if this Delver flips, Morrison's going to be priced to hold it back.
Ooh, I think
And
Morrison's hoping to triple chump block, theoretically. But
I like this plan. It
Mother of
forces,
Runes, yeah, it forces you to play Mother of Runes on red on your turn. You
and
do it.
then I like this specifically if Morrison has a removal spell that can then be spent on the mom. If he's able
Yeah.
to get Frosty to tap here, uh, looks like
Looks like that
deciding
was
not to
one.
block and just letting it go
Yeah.
through.
Must be hoping for something. We did see it pondered. We haven't seen any draws since then, so we still know 2 cards, right?
Yeah.
Or, yes, 2 cards. So hopefully Morrison has stacked the deck correctly in their favor. Otherwise, it's going to get real sketchy. And we didn't see the Delver flip because we knew it was on top, so I'm assuming it is not an instant or sorcery or anything sort of fun.
No, I really wish that we could know what that pile of 3 was, though, because if it was absolute garbage, Morrison could, of course, just shuffle it away. Looks like we have the whale
Forager.
coming down. The good old space whale. I love this card so much.
And we exiled with the Space Whale, the Force of Will, Brainstorm, and or the Lightning Bolt. I don't think Bolt's gonna be very relevant anytime soon. We can't cast anything really. Oh, yeah, and the Ponder.
Yep.
We did have the cool promo Ponder from the Player Rewards era. I really wish they would ever bring that back, Watsy, please, one day.
Maybe. First, let's get real events again, okay? We
Yeah.
we step by step here. So Frosty's going to attack with the Flicker Wisp. I want a trade would feel absolutely amazing trading away with this Ethereal Forager. At the same time, Frosty is not going to be able to attack in with this Thalia at the moment
No.
unless she is able to remove the whale.
Seems like our good old recorder put on all the things.
Big props. Thank you so much, Chaotic Bear. If you happen to come back and watch this,
Will
we
do.
do just want to go ahead and always give a shout out to the people who are doing the work behind the scenes. Chaotic Bear is actually the one who sat down with Frosty and Morrison and recorded this match, controlled the screen with all the life totals, made sure that when we would come back to do the commentating on it, that we would know what's going on.
Oh yeah, absolute shout out to the rest of the team. As I've been in the middle of a move, I've just bought my first home, so the rest of the team has been holding on the fort ever so graciously. Good to be back.
Frosty tanking with this single card here.
I wonder what it is. There's a lot of different things it could end up being. Could be another Swords of Plowshare, but there is that one red mana floating, so days could be relevant here.
I mean, if it was a swords, I feel like the line would be incredibly quick and easy. That you blow up whale, you swing in with the Thalia and the Flicker Wisp, and either force a block or get Morrison all the way down to 3 and just be threatening lethal again with the Flicker Wisp.
But there is one card in
Um,
hand. That's where the
that's
the
true.
Death and Taxes game comes into play, because you could really screw it up if you Swords of Plowshare and you're betting that's not days, and if it is days, you are in a bad position.
Are you in this situation though? You spend 2 on days and you have 3 mana up still, right?
It could be interesting. It just depends on what it is.
Okay, that's true.
I mean, because really, you could Swords of Plowshare. You put them back up to what is it, four up on Forager,
Up
Forager,
3.
up three, yeah,
Forger's a 3/3. So
three, three.
get back up to 11, be able to then crack in and get Morrison down to 5, threaten lethal on the following turn.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things you end up into, because it just depends on how much you want to tax your own mana base too. You know, you
Looks
pay
like Frosty's trying to make a
2.
movement.
You'll have Crocus back up. You'll have one floating, which means you can't do anything. Um, Cast any spells. I mean, one card in hand. I mean, there are so many weird lines with Death and Taxes where it's like, do I really want to do this now? Can I afford to wait? Do I want to reveal the fact that I have 0 cards in hand now and that I'm just hoping that they don't draw anything relevant? Um,
Yeah, it is interesting just that there are a good number of cards that do feel really easy to sequence in. I do wonder if this could potentially be a recruiter of the guard and really thinking about how mana wants to be spent.
mhm.
Um,
If it's Recruiter,
yeah,
even
just
doubly so, then you run into a situation of like, well, do I want to keep Crocus up? Do I want to, have it just in case, or do I want to be able to Rashad import next turn? Then I'm at 0, so you have that situation. Or do you want to go fully out and think, oh, it's not a days in hand, so I'm going to get Stoneforge Mystic again?
that's very true. Man, Frosty has brought scuba gear into the tank with her right now. She is really there and thinking.
I mean, there's so many things you could end up getting here in this position that would help Frosty. And Frosty's thinking clearly about how not to lose the game at this point.
Yeah.
Once you hit below 10-ish on Death and Taxes, it's not about I really want to win. It's about I'm going to try my best not to lose the game here, because it's so easy to go aggressive and be like, I'm going to try and win and then just lose out.
Seeing attack in with the Flicker Wisp, hoping for a trade with the whale, I would imagine. I can't imagine Morrison's going to take it
Okay.
or take the trade. And saying 3 mana aside.
We're spending 3 maybe on Recruiter? Yeah.
Yeah, we called it.
Now the question is, what are we going to get? And also if it resolves. It seems it has resolved.
I wouldn't mind getting Spirit of the Labyrinth if we're willing to jam it right here, right now, and basically just, okay, getting Flicker Wisp instead.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Flicker Wisp or Flicker Wisp is always a fun way to do things.
Well, also, Flicker Wisp, that whale, means that Morrison is only going to get 1 card out of it because it'll basically lose all the cards. It'll be a
Yeah.
new object that forgets the cards that were dealt away with it. So that's a good way to make it so Morrison isn't able to turn this whale into a card advantage engine and instead just get a single card out of it. You still get to select which one you want. Do you want the Ponder? You want the Brainstorm? You want the Force? You want the Lightning Bolt? But at least Morrison will be locked in at that point of only getting one. Of course, the problem is Morrison knows that there's this Flicker Wisp here. Morrison can just take that Force of Will, and if he has another blue card in hand, can prevent this from ever interacting with the whale.
There's also
Seeing
a
the
really funny line where you could swing with Flicker Wisp, give it protection from blue, and then Flicker Wisp in your second main phase and have it come back. So you can Flicker Wisp another one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. It depends on what you want to do with that line, though. There's all sorts of fun things that you can do. Because then it gets exiled into you until their end step. It just depends what you want to end up doing here. I'm assuming that Caracas is going to hit the Rishadan port, yep.
Yeah.
Definitely want to get your mana untaxed if you want to live in this game.
Yeah, this Dahlia has just been amazing at really slowing Morrison down, right? Morrison has not been able to chain out these 1-mana cantrips. I mean, 2-mana Ponder turns out costs a whole lot more.
Honestly, in this situation, it would have been nice to have a Fork Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, you're able to hit one of the cards. And of course, Morrison has a single Forked Bolt in their list.
Oh yeah, no, it is a situation you don't want to be in, because now that you know the Flicker Wisp is there, you know it's going to come down even if it protects.
Yeah, I think the hope here for Morrison right now is that the 2 cards are Force Brainstorm. Or, I'm sorry, Force Blue card.
I mean, we know Forager has the Lightning Bolt in hand, so we know that's coming. We're assuming the protection, yeah. We're assuming protection is going to hit here, logically speaking.
I would personally like to see it, yeah. But it looks like we're letting that resolve.
I think we're thinking. Seems like we're going to name for red.
I like this. Make sure the damage gets through. Then, if you just go ahead and resolve this,
Yeah,
this Flicker Wisp,
I do think Flicker Wisp or
you need
Flicker Wisp
exactly
here.
portable.
Yeah, I think you Flicker Wisp or Flicker Wisp here, logically. And then, because you Flicker Wisp or Flicker Wisp, at the end step will come back, and then you can target whatever you want. I would actually target the Delver just in case it flips.
It still has a chance to flip, though, right? Or are you talking about the second one?
Comes out at the end step.
Oh, you're saying if you Flicker with your own Flicker Wisp,
Yes.
and then Flicker, and then okay, and
Yeah.
at that point, then target the Delver, not with this initial one.
Yeah, because then you're
Using
guaranteed.
the whale instead.
Yeah, then you're guaranteed to hit at least one of your Flicker Wispin.
Looks like Frosty is choosing to go ahead and just hit the whale, making it so all those other cards that were delved away are no longer relevant. Days off the top looks like showing.
Yep. Here's a situation where you get into where if you swing with both, they can now double block.
Forked Bolt.
No, we're seeing the new card.
Expressive Iteration for 3 mana. Getting to look at the top 3, choose 1 to put on the bottom, 1 to go into exile, and 1 to go into Morrison's hand. There's been no land drop yet, so that is exactly the way you want to be playing Expressive Iteration. Get any of the lands that you hit there, just put it in exile so you can play it for that turn.
Seems like there was a communication error. Accidentally drew 4, put 1 back.
Okay.
Seemed like it. Get a land.
Yep. Found a Scalding Tarn to put that into exile, so make it so that's the one that can be, or so it is played right away that turn.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie, my first time playing with Expressive Iteration, I didn't fully realize that that was the way I needed to do it. And I definitely tried resolving my first one after playing a land drop, and man, that card felt real bad as a result of it.
I'm imagining here we're going to try and hope to the Lord that we're going to get a Lightning Bolt or something.
Fork Bolt, baby. One time. Just show us the Fork Bolt.
Either. Because you're playing for your outs here, but at the same time, you know one card's a daze. So the other card better be something better than it is. I mean, we have enough blocks. We have enough blocks. I assume Morrison scooped.
I would imagine.
My logical assumption here is that Morrison scooped. And I believe so, yes. Frosty has won the game.
A little interesting. I suppose not, because if you just have Mother Runes and You just go ahead and name Pro Blue on
Yeah,
one of them and attack through. Morrison's only chance there is if there is the Lightning Bolt or other instant speed removal spell. But yeah, I imagine that's the way it's going to go. Chaotic Bear will be updating us in just a little bit by going ahead and putting the game results down there in the middle for us.
of
But for
course.
now, let's go into game two, assuming that Morrison was the one that conceded and Frosty is 1-0.
Yes. Looking at the sideboards here, we're seeing 2 Containment Priests, 1 Sanctum Prelate from the Death and Taxes side, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Sword of Feast and Famine, I don't see that too often, 2 Deafening Silences, 1 Rest in Peace, 2 Path, 2 Surgical, 1 Council's Judgment, and 2 Cataclysms. What are you liking here, Oliver?
So I'll be honest, it isn't so much what I think is correct, but I have again got the privilege of watching Frosty play the quarterfinals in this exact same matchup. So I can tell you with a fact, as a fact, that Frosty very likely is going down on 2 recruiters and 1 revoker and bringing in the 2 paths and 1 council's judgment. I suppose there is some potential if she wants to change it at all to maybe go ahead and bring in the second Sanctum Prelate as well. However, I don't really know what card you would want to be taking out in that situation. But I imagine I'm willing to put down some pretty big money that Frosty will go ahead and do that plan of just bringing in the 2 paths and the single council's judgment. What would you do though if you were the pilot of Death and Taxes here?
I honestly would probably be in the same situation. I actually might bring in a Council's Judgment, a Path, and a Surgical. I find Surgicals a lot of fun just to have because you're ripping apart something that they need usually. You could either Surgical their Bolt, you can Surgical their Brainstorm. Most of the time, those are going to be the 2 that always screws with them, especially since they're on the play. You can also Surgical their Days since they're on the play, and that tempo game is really, really strong. It just ends up being depending on what you end up playing against. In the old days, you used to put in Rest in Peace because you had Dread Horror Arcanist. Thank God it's no longer around.
That's not a thing no more, unfortunately, or
thank the
fortunately.
Lord. Thank the Lord. There is also a place you could play Deafening Silence, but it's really not too relevant because it's not a Storm matchup. Honestly, I think 1 Council Judgment, 1 Path, and 1 Surgical is probably where you want to be.
Interesting.
Assuming
Let's go.
that Trinity Nemesis comes out.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump over to Morrison's. So Morrison is on 2 Blazing Volley, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 3 Pyroblast, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Abrade, 1 Blood Moon, 1 Hull Breacher, 1 Narset Parter Avails, 1 Sulfuric Vortex. Man, it feels good to see that card in lists again, and 1 Submerge. What do you like in here?
I'm really liking Blazing Volley. That's a great card against Death and Taxes. I'm also liking an Abrade and maybe a Blood Moon. Blood Moon, just because half the time your red cards are going to become your red cards. From Morrison's side, that is irrelevant. You're playing Young Pizzy. You're playing a lot of cards that need red anyways. And you're more than likely stacking up on enough blue cards that you're fine. We're seeing the 2 island list, and I believe it's only 1 mountain. So the mountains being red is kind of relevant to a decent degree. I mean, it just really depends. Against Death and Taxes, it can be troublesome, but at the same time, it depends on what you want to be turning off here. Because Caracas is super relevant in Death and Taxes, so is Rishadenport. It is kind of a weird way of like having more mana for yourself than you would ever expect. And the red doesn't really matter because you're not against red-white taxes. If this was red-white taxes, you would be wanting to hopefully let them play the Blood Moon or the Madness.
Interesting. I wouldn't think at all about bringing in Blood Moon. Maybe especially because when Morrison is on the play, port is a little bit less of a concern.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a possible thing. My big worry is basically just one for owing yourself, right? Which can happen if you're bringing in Blood Moon against Death and Taxes, especially in such a grindy matchup where
I agree.
a top deck Blood Moon in a lot of situations can just feel like a waste of a draw, right? The Blazing Volley is absolute gas. You can hit the Spirits, you can hit the Moms, you can hit the Flicker Wisps. We do know that the recruiters are likely coming out, but you can overload a Mom in a way that you can't with any of the other removal spells besides really a Forked Bolt. And a Braid is just absolute gas, right? I can hit Vile and I can hit creatures, and that's the real thing that matters. Also of note, we didn't see it in the previous game, but Sword of Fire and Ice is an absolute beast against Morrison here.
Yeah.
So having a Braid as an answer to the Sword of Fire and Ice, or potentially a Batterskull, if Batterskull gets unprotected at any point, is on the field without the 3 mana to bounce it back. Those feel like the absolute slam dunk easy 4 to bring in. But I will be interested to see if you're right and see if a Blood Moon does hit the play anywhere in these next 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Blood Moon is just really dependent on if you're on the play or the draw. If you're on the draw, the Blood Moon is going to be more relevant than ever. Just because you really need to make that mana. it is something that's going to be becoming really important. I do think we're going to see in a braid at least one, maybe two. We'll see the double blazing ballsy, 100%. There is also a world where you play surgical here, but that's more of a catch-all kind of thing if you're really having trouble. I've always heard it best put that surgical exists in your sideboard because you're not sure what you want to put in it, but you just know surgical is a good card. And it is doubly true. Surgical is that two of that card that you just put in your sideboard. Like, I don't know what matchup this for is, but I know one day I'll need it.
I feel personally attacked by that right now. Let me tell you, as I sit here with multiple surgicals in front of me. But no, absolutely right. Interestingly, I do feel like there's a lot of cards that Morrison is able to kind of trim back on. You're running a 6 force 4 days deck against an Aether Vial deck. So I do think that you definitely do have a lot of spots that you'd be able to kind of cut into the Force of Negations, potentially the Force of Wills or Dazes, depending on where you are on the player and the draw and what you want to do in the matchup. So I do think that you have the space to be bringing in a good number of sideboard cards.
Oh, yeah.
But let's see the way this works out. We're seeing a turn 1 fetch off Flooded Strand to go ahead and get the good old beautiful Steve Argyle Ponder.
Oh yeah. Yeah, honestly, that's another thing to consider if you're on the player with the draw. If you're on the draw, you're going to be getting rid of your dazes 100% of the time. We're going to see the turn 1 vial.
Is this going to resolve?
I imagine so.
Oh, okay. Let's see the Abrade Morrison. That's really what we want to see right now. Going ahead and fetching away with the Arid Mesa. That is a really interesting part of Morrison's list, by the way. So Morrison is going ahead and playing a single Arid Mesa in here, along with the 2 Flooded Strands, the 2 Misties, and the 4 Scalding Tarns, which is interesting just because normally we do see that Delver players tend to really prioritize the blue fetches explicitly.
No, I agree. I mean, at this point, it's trying to get your 1 red source off. I mean, it is one of those things that you need to guarantee. In terms of not having Volks, because you only play 3 Volks traditionally. Sometimes you play 2 mountains. Most of the time, 2 to 3 islands is normal. This is more of a trimmed version of it, I would say, in my opinion. We're also playing a Force of Negation. I don't think you really need the 5th Force, but
I think there's 2 Force Negations, right? So there's the full 6.
yeah.
But regardless, I feel you. This is definitely not the matchup where you want to be having the Force Negations in. We're seeing a Jite get slammed down, and it looks like this is also resolving. The difficult part here now is that Jite looks really good against the Young Pyro as long as Frosty is able to connect it onto a body and attack. But the big issue is that Abrade is a little overwhelmed here now as a potential answer. Do you hit the Vial or do you hit the Jite? Ooh, Petty Theft.
I'm assuming Petty Theft is on the Vial, considering we're responding here.
Yeah.
That is not what you want to see. That is really not what you want to see if you're Morrison. That is not what you wanted to see at all, because this could just be GTA equip. GG. Goodbye, Pizzy.
Yeah, the nice thing is you have the chance to have a bolt here or a forked bolt. Yeah. I mean, that's what you need to do. That Mother of Runes cannot go to your net, or that Mother of Runes cannot be allowed to get to an unsummoning stick state.
Yeah, no. It would not have been a good time.
So now Morrison's looking really pretty. Frosty needs to go ahead and start deploying bodies on board again. Could go and spend 1 mana for the Vial, but playing Vial without deploying any other bodies is going to allow Morrison to just kind of jettison ahead. Morrison with 4 power on play because the 2 Elementals and the 1 Young Pyromancer.
I think probably in this situation you want to either Swords the Pizzy or you want to play Thalia. Just depends. Or are you hoping that you have Thalia in hand, I would say. We do know one is the Vial, so. The real unfortunate part is if this is a double Vial hand, then that's the real sad part.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can just kind of take the whole turn to deploy Vial, but that still is setting you up that you aren't really going to be able to. You aren't going to get the fruits of those Vials for another 2 turns or potentially 3. It's very unlikely that you have more moms in hand.
Would you
It's like tapping out.
Oh, Sanctum Prelate.
Skyclave.
Oh, sorry, Skyclave. Too many S's.
I know, right? Hey, it's all right. It has the exact same converted mana cost, right? 1 white. Going ahead and getting rid of that Young Pyromancer. That feels quite good.
The classic, it's a Death and Taxes card when it has double white and then a generic.
Oh, and it's recruiterable. It has 2 toughness. Sounds amazing.
No, it's just it seems like the traditional death and taxes thing to do. Just have double white and then it has to have a generic or two generic. Just like the design philosophy, all 100%. It's like, we're gonna make this Will of the Councils, the exile some permanent. What should it be? Double white and a generic.
Dude, you got to make sure the ports in the wastelands do something to tap mana for it. You know what I mean? You can't let it be a 3 white card.
We got a creature, and we got an exile effect. What should it be? I think a 3-drop is fine. Okay, how do we do it? Double white and generic.
Want to go in death and taxes? I know exactly the CMC to do. They were really going out of their comfort zone when they made Palace Jailer. You know what I mean? They making there be 2 generic.
Four?
Nutty,
Just
nutty.
Completely uncomfortable. Like it's gonna go in death and taxes when it's like double white, 1 generic, completely screwing up this whole pile and deciding on how many 3-drop cards should be in death and taxes. You know it. It's a new death and taxes card. Is it going in? Who knows?
Oh, another young pyromancer after double cantrip. Morrison just really able to kind of dig deeper because while Frosty is not putting on any pressure. Here's the great part though. Frosty now, if Shisho chooses, can go ahead and spend this turn to equip the Jite, play a Vial to kind of start getting that advantage train rolling again, attack in, likely have it trade away, and then be able to kind of wipe Morrison's board with the rest of the Jite counters.
Yeah, I agree. You just swing in and start blowing things up off the board.
Let Jite do its job.
Oh yeah.
Imagine this is going to be a trade with the young pyromancer.
I would imagine.
Thought
So.
process here is you don't want to trade the 2 tokens because then Frosty is able to just hit the young pyromancer with a single charge counter off the Jite and be left with 1. If you go ahead and trade with the young pyromancer, Frosty's going to be priced into just completely spending all the counters on those 2 young pyromancer or the 2 elemental tokens that are left.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine we're deploying the Jite here, or not the Jite, the Vial.
It depends.
It's known information.
I mean, there could be a days in Morrison's hand. They were on the play. These are the weird things that you have to get used to when you're playing against Delver decks. You just always got to be like, they have it. There are very few times you're saying to yourself as the Death and Taxes player against Delver, like, they don't have a days. I feel safe, because every time that you think that in your mind, you're not safe. They always have it.
Yeah, but the longer it takes us to actually get this Vial into play, seeing that Horizon Canopy, that 24th land coming in clutch,
Oh, yeah.
not going ahead and playing anything out into it though, right? So even with getting that other mana source, Frosty is elected to not spend the Vial. I wonder if Frosty is really looking to just go ahead and cash in this Horizon Canopy for a median drawn card. Yeah.
We might just crack it.
Oh, and of course there's the 2/2 elemental in play. We neglected to mention that.
The bird.
Going ahead and taking the 2 elementals, leaving the 2/2 on board.
The blue elemental or whatever it is.
Oh, wait, is it an illusion?
I think it's a blue illusion token or something. What
it's a blue 2/2. That's what we'll tell you right now. We got that much locked down.
Yeah, it's a blue illusion creature token.
Perfect. Look at us. 1,000 monkeys in front of a typewriter. That's what we are right now. Let me just name creature types until we eventually get it right.
You know it. We're playing the Forager.
And we got the whale, the space whale coming in.
He's here. He's going to deliver it to you.
That's such a scary card. I love it so much. That card definitely went underrated when it originally came out. Is that a Commander product card? I forget.
I think it was when we returned to Ravnica. I think.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a standard set.
You sure? I thought Whale was.
Yeah. Commander 2020 is when it came out. So I believe that was the same. I think that was the same time as Ikoria when those decks came out. Again,
yeah,
it's
Commander 2020 because it has.
But definitely not a standard legal card.
Yeah, sorry,
but when that came out, everyone was like, "Oh, is this worth it?" It turns out we just needed to ban a bunch of cards before we could get to the point where the Space Whale is the card advantage engine we were all looking for.
Yeah, I always forget because they made the symbol very close to Theros Beyond Death.
Oh yeah. Seeing the Flicker Wisp and Aether Vial played on that turn, we did see the cashing in of the Horizon Canopy. But then this Flicker Wisp flickering the Whale is pretty fantastic again, making it so that Whale was only able to get a single card off of it. No, wait, didn't get any cards off of it. It is just a 3/3 sitting there now.
It's still a scary 3/3. It's a flying whale.
It's a elemental whale. It's so good. That thing cannot be killed by 6 mana Chandra's Wrath effect.
Oh yeah. Ooh, double Delver.
Delver. Okay,
You don't like
now I'm
this.
afraid.
You don't like
Now I'm
this.
legitimately afraid. This flips, and then we get to attack for 9 and make it a 2-turn clock. Get one of them traded away with the Flicker Wisp. Oh, this seems great.
Yeah, this is the point where you sit there and you're like, I'm gonna swing in and equip Jite because I'm killing double Delver if possible.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Morrison needs Bolt right here.
Yeah, if there is no Bolt in hand, you are 100% triggering that now.
I mean, here's the thing. This 2/2 could just go all the way. We're going to see the Jite continue to wrap the board of everything except for the 2/2 elemental that's left over from the Skyclave apparition.
No,
And land go?
we're gonna get rid of something here. Oh, okay, we're probably gonna get the Sword of Fire and Ice. Actually, no, maybe the Batter Skull.
I think Batterskull's pretty good here.
Batter Skull's pretty
You are
good
the
unless you get really screwed by the fact that they draw like
Sophie.
yeah, get the Sophie.
We getting Sophie.
Yeah, you're kind of scared to get the Batter Skull in your hand because then you have to hard cast it and then hopefully not get dazed. If they have
Assuming
if they
the
get a bolt.
assuming the Stoneforge dies, of course.
I always run on the assumption that they have a bolt and I'm gonna die.
But you know what kills that 2/2 illusion that's been cracking in? The combat trigger from Sword of Fire and Ice. Ooh, this looks so good. I love this. Ooh, we got another mom coming down. If this is able to go a full turn cycle, this is going to basically make it so Morrison's removal is completely dead in the water. And this also is currently a board state that does not care whatsoever against Blazing Volley, right? Assuming, of course, mom goes all the way around the table.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie here. I kind of want to just like use Stoneforge to bring in Sophie, and then just equip it to mom and have mom deliver it all the way through.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Because remember, it is a blue illusion token. It's not gonna hit anything. You will kill it too.
Oh, just passing back.
Yeah.
Frosty's saying, I am not worried about you cheesing me down.
I mean,
And I'm just going to slowly take my time with the Sword of Fire and Ice.
I'm assuming we'll play Sophie on their turn.
I am interested there was no equip there. It feels like your mana is relatively open. Oh, there's the Batterskull. It was in hand.
Oh,
Oh, that's so great.
Oh man, yeah, that's not what you want to see. That's not what you want to see if you're in the blue-red Delver seat.
Morrison has to feel really good not to attack with the 2/2 illusion into this Batterskull.
Because now you're sitting here. If Frosty drew a land, this is really bad. Because that's hard cast Sophie. If that's only a days in hand, you don't care.
Well, you can also just use Stoneforge, right?
Yeah, you could just use Stoneforge. Just really depends. I mean, we're gonna be hitting
a braid.
Oh no.
No. Oh, okay.
Remember, we have pro blue. We have theoretical pro blue.
Spend it. Oh, it is bouncing
yeah.
the Batterskull.
Yep.
Heads up play there, making it so the mom is going to be unable to do that.
The good old heads up play. Honestly, I think you just play the Stoneforge. Play the Sword of Fire and Ice because you have the free mana to do so. That way you don't have to tap. Oh yeah, that is fair. You don't want to die to what is that? 5, 8.
Yeah, it was looking if there wasn't a removal spell from Frosty there that Morrison was potentially going to be able to thread the needle here of getting through these last points of damage before Frosty is able to stabilize and start really cracking in and gaining life with the Batterskull.
I mean, here's a fun play that you can do. You can wait for the 2/2 to hopefully swing in and block it if you want. Hope they have something to get rid of it, and then you can play mom around it. It just depends. There's a lot of different lines that you end up down.
Well, I can't imagine that Morrison will be attacking in with the 2/2, knowing that the Batterskull is back in hand, and with this active Stoneforge.
It just all depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, that's
we know
true.
Sword of Fire and Ice is in hand. We don't know what the third card is.
Is that no flash in with the Batterskull?
Apparently not. I have
That's
no
really
idea what we're doing here. We could also
you have two equipment in hand. Why are you holding up mana in Morrison's end step?
We could also just play Sword of Fire and Ice here and just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, now we're threatening again with another Brazen Borrower.
I mean, Frosty isn't in the driver's seat either, so maybe Frosty was trying to bait out the Brazen Bar. Yeah, that's worth taking probably.
Cracking in. Oh yeah.
Yeah, going down to 7 and then
I mean,
seeing what's in their
you'd run out of
hand.
the way to block it unless you have Flicker Wisp in hand,
Yeah,
right?
seeing what's in hand. Yeah, because we know 2 cards in hand are both the equipments. We're gonna assume that Batter Skull comes in here.
I'm still really interested why we didn't see it coming at the end of turn last turn.
She might be thinking there's an Abrade in hand, which
Oh,
is pretty
that's very
scary.
real. Wanting to always keep up the 3 mana. That actually makes a lot of sense. That is exactly why she didn't flash it in. Felt like she had the time that she wasn't going to be punished for playing around the Abrade possibility. Um, we have not mentioned it at all so far today. But these two players did come into this with open deck lists, not able to consult the list during gameplay, but in sideboarding and before the match, they were able to look at their opponent's full 75s. So Frosty is very aware about the Abrades being there. So that, yes, you're dead. That is a dead-on analysis of why we didn't see it flash in on the previous turn.
Yeah, I'm assuming that we're gonna -1 here to get rid of the. It's a 3/1, right, for Brazen Bar? I'm almost positive.
Yeah, it's a 3-1.
Yeah, I'm assuming that we're gonna get rid of it soon.
3-1 Fairy Rogue.
I'm assuming that we're gonna get rid of both. Actually, that's my logical assumption.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
kill both. You're still gonna gain life too. Should be 4 life.
Yeah, so it goes up to 11
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah. We're going down to 17. Don't worry. Our spotter will pick it up, and our recorder will get it. Yep, there's the Sophie that we all knew about.
So now choosing to play into the
Ah,
potential of Braid.
a hard cast force. The alternative
Very
method of
nice.
playing a force of will.
Of note, this could be potentially not just playing into a Braid. There is the possibility that the one of the cards left in Frosty's hand is a
Ugh.
Flicker Wisp. So potentially just drew it on this last turn and is now deciding that she'll be able to deploy to spend it more mana. So she isn't able to bounce the Batter Skull with its own ability, just because now there's the Vial potentially protecting it with a Flicker Wisp to bounce the Batter Skull after it's targeted with an Abrade.
I agreed. I mean,
Alright, explosive iteration. Show us what you got. Found a land to put in exile.
hmm.
One to hand, one going on the bottom. Looks like we're tanking a little bit here.
Yeah, you do end up in a situation where you don't want to be here. Double Wasteland is not fun mana to have.
Not against death and taxes, that's for sure. Not
No.
against the five initial planes and no other utility lands coming in until just now.
Oh yeah, not what you want to be seeing. Kind of wish that you had Blood Moon Bright about now. It would be more relevant.
Really?
It would be more
I
relevant.
guess. I guess, yeah, it turns your wastelands into producing red. I guess, yeah. All right, let's see. We got a whale coming in. We're playing with the graveyard.
Big old whale
Whale
coming in
number
here.
2, the second one in the list coming down.
Big old whale.
I can't imagine this whale is long for this world.
Oh yeah.
You can equip Jite and oh, actually, I guess you can't because the Stoneforge is gone. You can't Sophie equip and equip Jite to go ahead and kill. Turning a wasteland just to kind of stymie a mana. I actually like
Yeah.
this, especially with the Sword of Fire and Ice being known information. This prevents a drawn land from being able to just completely kill the whale. Um, and we're seeing that wasteland and wasting back.
Well, that's probably the best use of Wasteland for Morrison's side. It doesn't really do much.
Realistically, yeah.
It doesn't really do much, unfortunately. And there's the
Go ahead and
Batterskull.
swing in.
Swinging it for 4. Goes up by 2. Can't really block it because Whale's gonna die either way.
The whale won't die here now, right?
It's a 3/3. It won't die yet. It will get real low and will become a nice 1/1 if Frosty chooses.
Looks like it is Force of Will, Expressive Iteration. I'm not sure what the other two cards are that got exiled away. Are they potentially lands that were
Delvers. They're
exiled
Delvers.
away?
They're double
Oh, they're
Delver.
Delvers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double Delvers. Hate to see it.
Swing. I imagine getting Expressive Iteration back.
I
Yeah.
would imagine so.
Let's keep digging. This has been a really fascinating game. Seeing Frosty be able to kind of like stymie the bleeding and prevent Morrison from ever getting massively ahead, both in card advantage and also in life totals, and then being able to just stabilize with his batter skull. Really, really great game to watch.
You're very key here. The 3 mana being left up is so Batter Skull can go back to hand in case a Braid comes out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel at this point, if you have a Braid and you know this is here, you're going to get rid of the GT and force Frosty to gain life, or force Frosty to minus your whale for nothing.
You could also just go ahead and spend it on the batter skull, um, just so the bounce back happens, and then
Eh,
Frosty needs to redeploy it, tapping out for it again.
if I remember
Just because
correctly, it says each card, right? Each creature, yeah. No use protecting it. That doesn't do anything, unfortunately. It is not a target.
oh, that's so true. Wait,
Well, actually, no,
so
it deals with damage.
protecting,
Protective
yeah, it's
damage.
dealing damage, right? So you
Yeah,
go pro red, and then it still
yeah.
can't have the damage dealt. Okay.
Unless you respond to it. That'll be interesting to see if we're going to see a response to it. 'Cause it seems like Morrison's thinking about something.
If you have the
Interesting.
cards.
Yeah. Interesting. If only it was something better.
Yeah, that feels like a waste of a card, right?
I mean,
Go ahead and swing in.
might as well. I wonder what they're going for here.
Go see a braid. This would actually be really great. A braid in response to attack. Spend it on the batter skull.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Force the batter skull to be bounced back to hand. It'd be a good
Yeah,
spot to be. Hey, look, it's a
oh,
braid.
here we go. We called it.
I'm assuming we're choosing destroy creature, destroy artifact mode.
Seems correct.
Ah! You know how sick
Frosty
that card would
taken.
be though, if it said like choose either or both.
It'd be nuts. A braid is already a fantastic card. If you could, oh my god, if that was a 2-for-1 machine instead of just being a super versatile answer, talk about a headache. Oh my goodness. Like, who needs to play Lightning Bolt at that point? I mean, decks are trying to burn, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's still played. But like, that would be nuts. I would hate that.
Oh, we're getting path. But you don't gain life on path. You get a land.
Go ahead and get that land. There is
No
more
land.
lands.
Yeah, we
no
are.
more lands, right?
There is no more basic, so we are shuffling our deck for free. Because we can.
That value. That value.
We're playing the value engine game. Interestingly to note, Frosty is protecting her Mother of Runes very well. Because there's two narratives that you can go down here. If they lightning bolt you, you can tap it to protect for red, and if they respond with another bolt, you can plus it.
It's +2/+2
yeah.
off of the
yeah.
right? Okay, so hey, you know what? We're gonna get to attack with that next turn, baby.
Yeah, you do +2/+2, and you can be relevant on that one. We haven't seen the other funny mode, which is gaining life. Usually you never see it unless you are getting abraded. That's usually the only time that you see that mode.
Unless there's no other way to get value out of the charge counters. Yep.
Yeah. I did use that mode occasionally in the past in a really grindy matchup where I lost all my creatures and I was down at like 3 life. I'm like, in response to playing some big creature, I'm going to gain, 4 life, please.
I will never forget first playing against GT and like kitchen table Magic, like way back in the beginning days, right? Of whatever. And anyway, when I finally realized that the charge counters were kept on GT and not on the creature, I tilted incredibly hard. Like young Oliver was not happy about that whatsoever. I thought that was the most egregious card ever printed. Well, lo and behold, I learned about a ton of other cards, right? But that I just remember tilting so hard about the fact that 2 on that dice there on Frosty's board state is on the GT and not on the Mom right now.
It is pretty egregious. I mean, it is banned in Modern. it
was though.
It was once called the Planeswalker Maker.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, when it has 3 abilities, that's all it takes, right? I'm sure that thing can go through the blind eternities by itself.
You know what's really funny here? Once you give it +2/+2, you can do both because it no longer needs to be around. From what I remember,
life.
Oh no,
Frosty
it's
gained
quick.
life.
Yeah, Frosty gained life. There are so many weird abilities that you can do with that, but yeah, no, it's super triggering. I also think one of the triggering cards is anyone who's ever played an EDH Skull Clamp. Just, last second design change. Let's just change one little value on Skull Clamp, and this card is busted.
It's
Whoops.
nuts. So of note, the Thalia coming down actually makes blowing up that Jite even more necessary. True name. Oh my goodness. Morrison, are you going to be able to get all the way? I would love to see that. Let's turn this around. Oh my goodness.
That's egregious.
This is a scary place to be for Frosty now. We do have the Sword of Fire and Ice still sitting in hand, right?
No, it is in the graveyard. It
Oh,
got
wait.
forced. It ate a
Oh,
force
it got
spell.
forced. Okay, that's right. So it's just the Batterskull left. The Batterskull does not line up great against True Name Nemesis.
No, it really doesn't.
Paying
Protection from
6 for the
players is
Batterskull.
protection from a player is very, very relevant.
The only answer to it is you can get it with Council's Judgment, right? Or
Yes.
am I misremembering that? Okay.
Council Judgment was purposely printed in a way where it's like, please choose a card. Actually, name a card with your opponents. Your opponents then also name a card, and then the card that has equal to or tied or greater than is the one that gets exiled. So in Commander, it theoretically could exile one of your own creatures or something along those lines. I think it's like a non-land permanent. But in Legacy, it becomes, hey, I'm getting rid of something, and you totally should vote with me. Otherwise, you're getting rid of something else too.
This can go very poor for you if you do not read this card and you vote one of my things. It is not going to go the way you think.
One of the greatest learning lessons I've ever had. Oh yeah, non-land permanent you don't control. So one of the greatest learning lessons that I've ever had in Legacy was the fact that someone voted for another card, and they tried to vote for one of mine, and I'm like, you can't vote for one of mine. You can only vote for one of yours. And like, okay, I'm going to vote for this one. I'm like, okay, I did tell
They're
you.
both fine. Congratulations.
Yeah, we have tied. You have exiled 2 permanents. And it's always the greatest learning lesson for anyone who's never read that card before and just reads the very last line where it says if it's tied, each permanent goes away.
Oh, this is interesting. So equipping the Batterskull onto the Thalia, is this going to be a race of going pro-blue on this Thalia initially and swinging in for 6?
I mean, it is going to be a race. I just don't know if that's going to be the race you go down.
I mean, it's a race you win, but the issue is you're opening yourself up to Morrison getting any bolt or removal effect to go ahead and, yeah, we're seeing it. Going pro-blue and attacking in. That is a 12-point life swing. That is pretty amazing. It's a race that Frosty is absolutely set up to win, but if Morrison can draw a removal spell to deal with this Mom now that is tapped down, that plan is no longer going to be viable.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a problematic plan here because you still have to figure out how you're going to kill a Thalia that's, a 6/3 or a 6/4.
You can just continue to leave back your True Name Nemesis, right, to eat the damage from the Thalia. It does not have trample, right?
No.
And then you are the one in technically in the advantage state, despite the life totals, just because you are the one swinging in with the Sprite Dragon, while your opponent is staring down your True Name Nemesis that you refuse to swing with.
Yeah, it becomes the greatest trump blocker in the world that never dies.
It's pretty good, it turns out.
Pretty good card. This becomes the Frosty game of, where can I find my Council's Judgment, please? Where is it in the deck?
Morrison seeing the line of blocking with the True Name Nemesis. Frosty, of course, attacking and giving Morrison the chance to do that wrong. But we're just going to sit here, players looking like they're discussing if life totals changed at all with the protection. But no, they do not.
No, they don't.
No damage is dealt.
It tries to hit something, it gets blocked by imaginary air, which doesn't hit anything. It feels real bad, and then you just keep doing this on endless repeat.
Frosty goes ahead and wastelands the 2 volcanics there. I think that is all 3 volcanics in the graveyard now. There are no more color-producing lands in Morrison's deck, if I'm right here.
Look, have the Blood Moon, play it. We have real lands.
All right, show me. Show it to me.
We have lands.
All right, we're swinging for 2. Play a Delver. Show me that flip. Oh my goodness. If Morrison claws back from this, I'm going to be incredibly happy.
I mean, I'm really thinking the accomplishment's going to show up soon.
Yeah, you also of note, a drawn flicker wisp is also quite amazing. It looks like that's spent on Dorat. Um, just because you can flash it in at end of turn after Morrison has attacked in with all the flyers, or likely has, and then just suit up and swing, and it's lethal.
Yeah, no. That is also a very interesting spot to be. Assuming that we do see a Flickerus show up eventually. You're playing to that out. You're playing to Flickerus, or you're playing to see Council Judgment show up?
Oh my goodness! And so two swords coming in to hit the two potential flyers, and
Oh,
then another
Lord.
Dorat off the top. This is
Oh,
what we want to
Lord.
see from Morrison. This is perfect. I believe Morrison has one unknown in hand here.
Oh, yeah. They're on draw go here. I mean, it's whoever draws first. The better cards.
So
Unfortunate.
of note, we are going on pretty incredibly late into this game too. The beautiful thing is because this is the top 16 where we need to have a winner, we do not have the normal time extension rules here, or the normal timing rules of only having 60 minutes to play these matches. Frosty's quarterfinal match, of course, took 70 minutes to complete, and this one is definitely looking like it might rival it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's Schadenport. It's going to be relevant because you're going to tap down a land at some point. We're going to play Bolt Face.
Okay, I like this. Grow the Dorat and basically eliminate one turn of attacking.
Yep.
Swords.
Nah.
Oh no, port. Okay, never mind.
Put down the red mana source. It's the only red mana source left in the deck. That volcanic doesn't. That Scalding Torrent does nothing at this point. All the Volks are gone, and we only have all our lands on the deck. Only thing left is Wasteland, and there's the Flickerwist that we expected to see.
Oh, this is it then.
Goodbye, Doran. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Of course, we're thinking that this is done at end step, so that Dorat does not come in until Frosty's end step. Frosty can now go ahead and suit up the Batterskull. If there is no removal, which there isn't going to be because there's no red sources for Morrison to cast, even if there was a bolt in hand, going ahead and swing across for 7. This is not lethal because the sword's on the inside or on the Delver, but is enough to get to 1. Get Frosty up to 16 very comfortably, and now you can play this Dora. Now this Dorat's a chump blocker. This True Name Nemesis cannot interact with the Flicker Wisp. Bolt is not going to be able to kill it anymore.
Oh, they need to play 2 for the Thalia. Good old Thalia attacks. Will they
Keeping
go
up
out
the
on
red.
their own turn?
That is technically an option here. We can see if Morrison goes the gentleman route and fetches to kill himself.
Yeah, that's always the proper option. I respectfully concede by killing myself here. Seems like we're gonna put those 2 back. Very hard decision here. There are no more lands in play. You know, if they played Blood Moon, you would have more lands.
God, we're just going to keep going on this.
I mean, if there's a wasteland, you might actually want to draw the wasteland so you can cast something.
I mean, for real, like that is exactly the land you want to draw. Any more fetch lands off the top is not the way that you want to play this game.
Oh yeah, no.
Because of that Thalia, the only cards that are castable are the free pitch spells, so either the Force of Wills or Dazes. Anything else is not castable at the moment, unfortunately. Swing in, eat it. Frosty goes up to 23. The life total changes this game has actually been amazing. I've really appreciated it. Frosty has basically gained close to 40 life at this point, at least above 30 for sure. And then Morrison just taking it back, getting Frosty down to a kind of conceivably low life total again, and then Frosty just going ahead again. Batterskull has put in absolute work this match.
Oh look, we're gonna see a Stoneforge Mystic fetch for nothing. Unless
Great.
Frosty put in Feast and Famine.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Well, not picking up the deck, so I can't imagine.
We're not picking up the whole deck. I wonder if we actually showed if we're gonna show a Sword of Feast and Famine. It would be interesting to see that Frosty put that in.
Oh, looks like we have a port happening there on the red source.
I think Frosty passed it.
I think we've seen both the braids, right?
Yeah, both braids are gone.
Fails to find. Takes that free shuffle.
We are gonna die.
And that is a concession. What a great match, Mr. Jack Dax. That was so cool to watch. So we saw an incredibly long game 2 there. Morrison putting on early pressure, Frosty being able to stabilize, Morrison getting it to a point, kind of threading the needle, eliminating the key cards with some clutch of braids and force of wills. But Frosty being able to stabilize again, even in the face of that true name, and getting the Flicker Wisp to go over the top for the final points of damage. Man, that was incredible. Mr. Jack Dax, what do you think about that match?
Absolutely killer. I loved it. Gotta enjoy it for what it is. I mean, the classic Death and Taxes, it grinds all the way. And Frosty is one of the epitome of like classic Death and Taxes players. Knows the in and out of their deck and knows their opponent's deck like butter. You know, knowing the battle is half the battle.
That is very true. Big props to Morrison 90 for getting this far. Morrison 90 won out on his pool. Then in the round of 16, took down Kelly Meggi on Infect. In this quarterfinals, we have a recorded match playing against the Eternally Surprised and beating Blue Black Ninjas by doing so and making it all the way here. So great showing by Morrison to make it all the way to this semifinals. But it looks like Frosty's going to go on to the finals and will be facing the winner of the Evan versus Quirios match on the other side of the bracket.
That's gonna be one to watch. Quiros
Oh,
was known for a while for playing all sorts of different decks. I've seen him play Test. He's played Ninjas. I would love to see what he's actually on.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to make sure that you get to commentate one of these next Quirios matches coming up. But regardless, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to get involved with the Discord, you can go ahead and hit the link down at the bottom in the description of the Discord. Come and join us. Join us for our next league. Go ahead and hit us up for our LFG matches. Play in one of our weekend tournaments. As we like to say here at the MTG Paper Legacy Discord, let us be your local meta.
100%, you guys. Check out the Twitch and follow us on Twitter. Have a good day.
Peace out.